All right.
picture there now, so go ahead.
Okay.
I mute myself that I don't make noise in the background.
I started with roughly 10 inches of solid copper wire. I just pulled it out of regular 14-2 house wire. It's actually the ground lead from the house wiring. And I wound it in these spirals, as you can see, with a short little tail, approximately 3/4 of an inch. A little easier to see here with the little tails. And I wound one in a clockwise direction. I wound one in a counterclockwise direction. Now, I did the
Excuse me. Can you explain how you do it? Because a lot of people don't understand how to do a clock and anti-clock. To them, it looks the same as spiral.
Okay, if you look at this version here, you'll notice from the center, this travels outward in the same direction that a clock turns. If you look at this one, from the center, it travels outward opposite the direction the clock turns. That's what I mean by clockwise and counterclockwise. Both of them looking for the same orientation on the coils themselves. And as far as the physical making of the coil, it was just a pair of needle nose pliers and 10 minutes watching a movie while I was doing it. So, I try to be neat. I don't expect anybody to be as neat. I'm sure some people could be even better than this. But I don't think at this point, I wasn't too concerned about neatness as far as getting the spacing in the coils all exactly the same. If I needed to do that, I would actually make a machine that would wind these things. But anyway, the purpose behind the clockwise and the counterclockwise came from a discussion we were having on another Skype room. And what I looked at was not only the physical, the matter state electricity coming out of the battery, where the electrons will travel from the positive pole to the negative pole. They're always going to try to go in that direction. And also looking at ancient technologies, the yin and yang, the feng shui technologies where they look at the balances in a room or the balances in a lifestyle, that sort of thing. I can't remember. There's one other Chinese technology that I can't remember the name of it, but what they describe is an exit is a counterclockwise rotation and an entrance is a clockwise rotation. And I thought, okay, well, this is ancient stuff. The ancients knew more about this sort of things than we do, so let's just go that route. So that's why I have the two different orientations on my spirals, using the counterclockwise. This one here, I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but the one on the right would be on the positive terminal of your battery. These were intended similar things as what they're doing in the Philippines. I got this idea actually from a fellow who did it with a motorcycle. The counterclockwise would go on the positive terminal. The clockwise would go on the negative terminal. Now, we discussed this yesterday, and Mr. Keshe explained quite clearly that this is actually working as well with the gravitational and the magnetical fields, where the positive would be the gravitational fields and the negative on the battery would be the magnetical fields. And this would create a balance within the system so that the flow would be constant through the battery. It would draw it in on one side, pour it out on the other, draw it back in on the one side, and it would constantly circulate through that battery. And then you would draw off through your electrical system in your car what you need. This opened a whole bunch of different things I was thinking about today, different configurations that I can do to make this more compact, more efficient, higher power. And because this is just the first idea that I had of this system. I can't think of anything more. Is there anything specific that you wanted me to explain, Mr. Keshe? I understand. Oh, no.
A bit of an issue with that. So just hang on. The Skype call is. I need to try to get him back. So just a minute. I'm going to mute. Try to get him back.
Okay. Is there anyone else out there that, if there's anything specific that you need to understand about this, please ask, because I'm at kind of a loss. I got so many things in my head right now. I'm having a hard time keeping a lot of it straight.
Hello, John.
Go ahead.
Could you explain or show some type of visual representation of how these were specifically placed on the battery?
Well, I can explain it. The little pins that are hanging out the bottom, after they are encapsulated in a plastic cover and sealed up with silicone, you can see them here in this view. That little pin just drops down into the slot in the lead battery clamp on a top post battery. Now, if you have a side post battery, you'll have to adjust a little bit because they're probably going to be sitting sideways in the car. But these ones, they just sit right on top of the battery terminals with this little pin here that you can see standing up. That just slides down into the slot of the lead post battery, or the battery clamp.
To understand what you just said, does it slide down as it's seen in this direction, or is it upside down and slides in?
In this view, it's pointed up. It's upside down. So in the view, this view, you'll see them. That's the way they would actually sit on the battery, with that little pin pointing down. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. And it was asked while I was showing this yesterday if there's airspace in around the coils, and if there's anything else in around those coils. And at this time, there is airspace in there. There's just a ring of silicone around the outside, as you can see, with another plastic. It's the same cap. I just took the little side lip off, so it was just a disc, and a blob of silicone in the center just to keep it all stable. Now, my original plan was to encapsulate these in GANs. And I found out yesterday, Mr. Keshe mentioned that if I was going to put GANs into the system with the nano-coated wires, it would have to be dry. If I wanted to put liquid GANs in, they would need to be insulated in some way, which in this case, I would fill the top cup with GANs and put another lid on it. And that would make sense. Now, I don't know whether I'm going to do that right off the bat. I want to get some results back from this first, so I have something to compare with. But he did say that would be the next step. Now, I'm thinking...
You further, I mean, now today we add to the knowledge than yesterday that your battery is a source of against itself energy. But if you want to guarantee a support of energy, you can do so. In the next couple of weeks, we show another way of increasing the power in the GANs in a very much simpler way. Armin has already made a system like this. We got to test it when he comes back, and with the other people we are working, where we submerge the nano coating in the GANs. We done this in a simple version a few months ago, and Eric Clausen said they copied my system where we already designed this years ago. Now I brought it back for it done. Now we add a new dimension to this, and in a way, your cup on top of your wire is addition to the same process. And it's nice to see how gradually a number of people are coming to the same way. But try to explain to us the way you see the energy flow now compared to before yesterday. If you manage to transfer the knowledge the correct way, and the others can learn from it too.
If I understood what you were describing yesterday correctly, if you could visualize energy flow when these are mounted on top of the battery.
Wait a minute. Could you repeat that, John? Mr. Keshe had to have my Skype microphone on. He couldn't hear you there. So just repeat what
I'm
you
sorry.
just said. Go ahead.
If I understood what you described yesterday correctly, and one could visualize the plasma flow itself, what you would see would be a loop of plasma running from one post of the battery to the other post, making a complete circuit within that battery, constantly flowing in a big circle. And then you would draw off a little bit of that plasma energy into the vehicle as the rivers flow. So it would seem to me that the battery would be sort of like, because you had described it as an ocean and the water system on the earth, where the oceans are the reservoir of the water systems, and then they go into the air, travel through the air, rain down on the mountains, and then flow through the rivers down back to the sea. I envision this as the beginnings of that cycle, where the battery is the ocean, and this flow of plasma from one pole to the other on top of the battery, it would be very similar to the water traveling through the atmosphere looking for a place to go. And it would just constantly cycle through that over and over and over again in a big loop until it found another route out, another river to flow through, which would be the wiring and the body of the car. Is that roughly what I should be experiencing?
Should be, in a way, yes. But in the position of transferring from magnetical to gravitational, the way you pulled it and you winded your wires, that position changes when it goes from one to another, creates a mechanism for the motion, because this is the point when the electric current has no point of reference. Let me explain to you something interesting in the camshaft, the way you see it, the way it works, and why your engine runs, is that your engine is electrically disconnected once you come to the crankshaft, once you start the motion. Up to there, you connect it to the starter motor and the alternator on the other end. So now, for the energy to go from the starter motor, which you created the plasma, it goes to the structure of the motor itself, which has got no electric connection. And the next point of transmission is your spark plugs, which goes into the distributor and back to the battery. And in that position where the plasma comes up to the starter motor and in contact with your system, the engagement point, to the spark plug is where the energy transfers from magnetical to gravitational and creates a rotation to physical motion.
Oh.
Now you understand.
Oh, so
Good
the
morning.
next layer
As we say,
would
good morning, you
be
got
to have
enlightened.
one side of this, either the magnetic or the gravitational, probably the gravitational attached to the block, and the magnetical attached to the actual spark plug, so that there
Good
is
morning.
that
Good
the
morning.
separation between the two needs to occur where that motion should be created.
Yes, but don't forget your intention counts into it as well.
Of course.